Hello, everyone. It's George from Ireland. Welcome back to the channel. So talking about Gatwick Airport. Well, London Gatwick, that is an airport to the south of London, close to Brighton, not so far inland. I believe I'm correct in saying it's the second busiest airport in the United Kingdom. It's been going since the 1960s, if memory serves. And by the 1980s, it was a really major airport. It's got two terminals, North Terminal, South Terminal. It's got its own railway station direct to London Victoria. And I remember the very early 90s where you could check in at London Victoria, put your suitcase on, the train, give it to them in the railway station, and you didn't see the suitcase until you landed at your destination, check through. But that's thought not to be secure enough, so that's no longer permitted. Anyway, so a decision will probably be made this year about whether to allow a second runway at Gatwick or not. Now, I know there's all this heated debate about a third runway at London Heathrow, the only two-runway airport in the United Kingdom. It's staggering that a country of over 70 million people now has only a solitary airport that has two runways. Whereas Paris Charles de Gaulle has got five runways, Amstel Schiphol's got five runways. The Netherlands is way smaller than the United Kingdom. About 18 million people, and so yeah, and a third runway is such a big deal. And as I say, major European hubs, American hubs have five runways. Loads of airports have got three. A few have got four. Now, well, regardless of whether Heathrow goes ahead, I mean, I am in favour of a second runway at Gatwick. It's not ideal. Somewhat even Heathrow is not ideal. I've always gone for Luton, but the United Kingdom urgently needs more runways. And I remember a Conservative MP saying this in the year 2000 that he would recommend an extra runway at Heathrow and Gatwick and Luton and Stansted. And here we are, a quarter of a century later, and it still hasn't happened. The debate about the third runway at Heathrow has been going on for 30 years. And at the best case scenario, that wouldn't be operational for another 10 years. But Gatwick, it's far less controversial. It could happen a lot faster. It wouldn't be annoying some people, the noise. It's not so rammed as a corridor because most of the United Kingdom is the west of London, well, even more of it's to the north. And so that's a very busy route due west of London. To the south of London, there's not that much before you hit the sea, so it's not that busy a route. The problem is you want it to serve more of the United Kingdom being right in the southeast corner. That's not great for connectivity. But anyway, simply because this could go ahead. So the airport submitted a development consent order in 2023. A decision is going to come very soon. So a number of members of parliament have said that they don't want this to happen because it's going to be too noisy for the residents. But there are pros and cons. There's an airport there. It's already a bit noisy. You can get even noisier. You don't like it, you can move. There are pros to being close to the airport, as in access to it for your own holidays or business travel. And indeed, there are jobs based on that, working at the airport or working in businesses that depend on it. Some offices close by because it's convenient for their executives to be flying in and out of the country or indeed around the United Kingdom. So ironically, a lot of the local MPs don't want it to happen. It's a mostly Conservative area, but with Labour in office, they're going to be less concerned about what local people, believe, because even in a very bad year for the Conservatives, Labour's got almost no constituencies in Sussex. They've got Brighton, and that's about it. Is it Brighton Pavilion rather than Brighton Kemp Town? Anyway, so it would just allow more flights in and out of the country. And sometimes it'd be interchange. A lot of passengers wouldn't be stopping off in the United Kingdom, changing planes if they're flying from Nigeria and on to Canada or something via there. It's had flights to the Middle East since the 1980s, to Saudi Arabia and other destinations. It's got a lot of flights to the Caribbean, a lot of package holiday companies like TUI, Thompson, who else is there, going places. Thomas Cook, do they still exist? They go from London Gatwick, as well as European destinations. So serve lots of destinations. And indeed Aeroflot, the Russian flag carrier, they used to fly to and from Gatwick until the Ukraine war 3 years ago, when they're banned from the airspace of about 40 countries. So Ukraine International Airlines, when they were still flying in and out of Ukraine, they used to land there as well. I landed on one of those planes. So yeah, it really needs to go ahead, and it would take the pressure off Heathrow and elsewhere. But as I say, the location is not ideal. So it would build over a bit more green space. It might even have to knock down some houses. There's not the environmentally sensitive land that there is very close to Heathrow. A lot of the approach is over the sea, so that means it's not annoying certainly people with the noise. There's a thing called noise cone which you can change about the angle they come in at. Obviously, you can't come in like a dart. Um, to make it noisier at the airport but quieter further away, or vice versa. Not as noisy at the airport but quieter further away. They also change their approach direction every few hours to reduce, so it doesn't annoy people too much in one area. What are other factors to take into consideration? They might have to build another railway station. There's no point in building another terminal because sort of at capacity be a third terminal and you just wouldn't be able to take any more planes or passengers. There are other things you can do to increase capacity, not number of flights, but number of passengers by saying you have to use planes with 300 seats at least, and we'll fine you for every empty seat to incentivize the airlines to maximize the use of their capacity, because some of them will take off 300-seater airliner and only 100 seats filled, not too fussed about that. They're still making a profit. But this will make them even more code sharing, or rather than flying 5 times a day, they'll only fly 3 times a day because they can be sure every seat will be sold. And that was another way to do it. So you can get MPs from places far away from London to agree to this if they're from Northern Ireland or Scotland or something, so long as they think it will connect to there a lot. Because if you're flying from Derry, for example, and you want to go to Pakistan, for instance, and you could change at Gatwick and then fly on, that's great, because you always got to fly, you always got to change somewhere if you're coming from Northern Ireland, Scotland, or Wales. Almost always, if you're going to fly anywhere beyond Europe, you're going to fly to North America, South America, Africa, anywhere in Asia, including the Middle East. So it just gives more options there. So then we obviously said there are some domestic flights, could be even more domestic flights from London Gatwick if this is it. And the other obviously way to increase capacity is just make it a 24-hour airport. Major hubs are 24 hours. And if you don't like it, leave the area. It's been there for a very long time. Some people say, but we were promised there would be no second runway and so on. It's overexpanded as it is. Obviously, it has to be the road capacity. There's no sense in having millions more passengers per annum and the roads being clogged. Might need another motorway, more lanes on existing motorways, more trains, and not just to serve London Victoria as a terminus to go to other ones. There's also debate about Heathwick, as in Heathrow Gatwick, a rail link between the two of them. So if you're transiting, if you fly in from China, land at Gatwick, and then a train straight through without having to pass through passport control to Heathrow to then fly on to Brazil, for instance. So to have effectively combined airport, that's very, very expensive though to build that rail link. It's something that's been debated since the 80s, still hasn't happened. Why is it the United Kingdom is so terrible at these major engineering projects? I mean, they don't go wrong, they're just eye-wateringly expensive, several times more expensive than in comparable European countries like France, Germany, Italy, wealthy countries with high wages. Maybe it's just the United Kingdom has too many court battles, too many legal challenges, all this judicial review about the environmental impact and so on. Well, thank you for watching my channel. Make sure to subscribe on Patreon, donate PayPal, georgecallahan79@gmail.com. Goodbye.